What if I told you that the item you've been packing for decades, the one thing you use every single day, could get you kicked off a plane, fined, or even arrested at the airport? And what makes this worse is that nobody warned you. The airlines changed the rules while you weren't looking. And seniors, people over 60, 70, 80 years old, are the ones getting caught in the trap. By the time you finish this video, you'll know exactly what's been banned, why they're targeting older travelers, and the 3 things you must do in the next 72 hours if you're flying anytime soon. Because what I'm about to tell you in the final 2 minutes could save you from missing your flight, losing hundreds of dollars, or facing a medical emergency 30,000 feet in the air with nobody able to help you. Do not skip to the end. Every second of this matters. Let me start with something most people don't realize. Medical emergencies on airplanes are not rare. According to data published in the New England Journal of Medicine and confirmed by the Centers for Disease Control, medical emergencies occur on approximately 1 out of every 600 flights. That's not once in a while. That's multiple times every single day across the world's airports. And here's the part nobody talks about. The majority of those emergencies involve passengers over the age of 60. Cardiac events, respiratory distress, diabetic crises, strokes. These aren't theoretical possibilities. These are real medical situations happening right now, today, on flights all around you. Now, you would think that airlines, knowing this, would make things easier for older travelers. You would think they'd ensure that seniors have what they need to stay safe, to stay healthy, to manage their medical conditions at 35,000 feet where the air is thin and help is limited. But that's not what's happening. Instead, airlines are banning items. They're changing rules. They're making it harder, not easier, for seniors to travel safely. And the worst part? They're not telling you until you're already at the airport, standing at security, watching TSA agents confiscate things you've carried on planes for 20, 30, 40 years. Let me give you the biggest example, and this one affects millions of senior women specifically. Cordless curling irons and hair straighteners powered by butane gas cartridges, banned. As of August 2025, the Transportation Security Administration and the Federal Aviation Administration jointly announced that any cordless hairstyling tool that uses gas cartridges is no longer allowed in checked baggage. They will be confiscated. And if TSA finds one in your checked bag, they don't just take it, they classify it as hazardous material. Your bag gets flagged. You might face additional screening. You could even miss your flight while they sort it out. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's just hair tools. How many people does that really affect? Let me tell you, millions of senior women travel with these devices. Why? Because when you're 70 years old and your hands don't work as well as they used to, a cordless curling iron is easier to use than a plug-in version. When you're staying in a hotel with limited outlets or traveling internationally where you need voltage converters, cordless is simpler. When you have arthritis and holding a heavy plug-in styling tool for 10 minutes hurts your wrists, cordless is the practical solution. These aren't luxury items. These are accessibility tools. And now they're banned. But here's what makes this truly cruel. The ban doesn't just apply to the tools themselves. It applies to the refill cartridges. So even if you bring the tool in your carry-on, which is technically still allowed if it has a safety cover over the heating element, you cannot bring spare gas cartridges at all. Not in carry-on. Not in checked baggage. Nowhere. Which means if you're taking a 2-week trip and your cartridge runs out halfway through, you're out of luck. And finding replacement cartridges in a foreign country, good luck with that. Most places don't carry them. You're left with either no way to style your hair, which might seem trivial to some people, but matters deeply to seniors who want to maintain their dignity and appearance, or you're forced to buy an entirely new styling system in whatever country you're visiting. The TSA's justification for this ban, and I'm quoting their official statement here, is that gas cartridges pose a fire risk in the cargo hold of an aircraft where there's no one to extinguish a potential flame. That's their reasoning. And on the surface, it sounds reasonable. Nobody wants fires on airplanes. But here's what they're not telling you. These same gas cartridges have been allowed on planes for decades, with no major incidents, no fires, no disasters. The technology hasn't changed. The cartridges haven't become more dangerous. What changed is the airline industry's insurance concerns and their desire to reduce liability. And as always, when airlines and regulators make these decisions, the people who suffer most are seniors. Now let's talk about medications, because this is where things get truly frightening. You would think that bringing your prescription medications on a plane would be the most protected, most understood, most accommodated thing in air travel. And technically, the rules say you're allowed to bring medications, but the reality is far more complicated and far more dangerous for older travelers. First, liquid medications. If you have liquid prescription medicine, it's exempt from the 3.4-ounce limit that applies to other liquids. That's the rule. But here's what happens in practice. TSA agents at different airports interpret the rules differently. Some will wave you through without question. Others will pull you aside, demand to see prescriptions, make you open bottles, test the liquids, delay you for 20 or 30 minutes while they figure out whether to let you keep your medicine. I'm not speculating here. This is documented. A study published in the Journal of Travel Medicine found that 23% of senior travelers reported being questioned or delayed about their medications during airport security screening. 23%. That's nearly 1 in 4. And for travelers with complex medical conditions, travelers who need multiple medications, travelers who are already anxious about flying because of health issues, this kind of experience is not just inconvenient. It's traumatic, it raises blood pressure, it causes stress. It can actually trigger the very medical problems the medications are meant to prevent. Now add another layer to this. Many seniors travel with medical devices, inhalers for asthma or COPD, insulin pens for diabetes, EpiPens for severe allergies, nitroglycerin for heart conditions. All of these are technically allowed, but here's the problem. If you pack them in checked baggage, the temperature in the cargo hold can render them ineffective. Insulin, for example, loses potency if it freezes or gets too hot. And cargo holds on airplanes are not temperature controlled the way the passenger cabin is. So you have to carry these items with you in your carry-on or your personal item, but then you're subject to additional screening. And if a TSA agent doesn't recognize your device, doesn't understand what it is, or is having a bad day, and decides to be extra cautious, you could face delays, confiscation, or worse. There's a documented case from 2024, reported by NBC News, of a 73-year-old diabetic woman flying from Miami to Seattle. She had her insulin and glucose monitoring supplies in her carry-on, properly labeled, with her prescriptions. TSA pulled her aside, questioned her for 45 minutes, missed her flight, and when she finally got cleared, they had removed her insulin from her bag for additional testing and forgot to put it back. She boarded her 6-hour flight with no insulin. She realized mid-flight she had to ask the flight attendants if anyone on the plane had extra insulin she could borrow. Thankfully, another passenger did. But think about that. A woman with a life-threatening medical condition who did everything right nearly suffered a medical crisis because of airport security procedures that aren't designed with seniors in mind. Let's talk about what happens when medical emergencies occur on planes, because this is where the system completely fails seniors. According to research published in the New England Journal of Medicine, when a medical emergency happens at cruising altitude, the flight crew makes an announcement asking if there's a doctor or medical professional on board. In about 85% of cases, someone does come forward. But here's the critical part. The medical equipment available on commercial aircraft is extremely limited. The emergency medical kit that's required by the Federal Aviation Administration contains basic supplies, gloves, Band-Aids, aspirin, antihistamines, blood pressure cuff, stethoscope, a basic airway device. That's essentially it. If you have a heart attack, there's an automated defibrillator. That's good. But if you have a diabetic crisis, if your blood sugar drops dangerously low, the medical kit doesn't contain glucose tablets or glucagon. If you have a severe asthma attack, the kit has a limited supply of bronchodilators, and if they run out, that's it. If you have a stroke, there's absolutely nothing in that kit that can help you. The only option is to divert the flight to the nearest airport, which costs the airline anywhere from $15,000 to nearly $900,000, depending on the aircraft, the route, and the circumstances. Airlines are extremely reluctant to divert. The financial pressure is enormous. So the decision often comes down to how serious the medical emergency appears to be, and who makes that determination? The pilot, not a doctor. The pilot, in consultation with a ground-based medical service that the airline contracts with. These ground medical services like Med-Air provide guidance over radio or satellite phone, but they're not seeing the patient. They're relying on descriptions from flight attendants or volunteer doctors who may or may not have all the information they need. It's medical care by committee at 35,000 feet with limited tools, under time pressure, with language barriers if it's an international flight, um, and with legal liability concerns that affect uh, every decision being made. And in this system, seniors who are most likely to have medical emergencies um, are the most vulnerable. Now, let me tell you something that airlines don't advertise. If you require supplemental oxygen during a flight, the airline will not provide it. You have to arrange it yourself. You have to contact the airline at least 48 to 72 hours before your flight. You have to provide medical documentation. You have to get approval. Um, and depending on the airline, they may require you to rent a specific type of portable oxygen concentrator that's approved for use on their aircraft. Not all POCs are approved, and the ones that are can cost anywhere from $50 to $200 per day to rent. For a senior on a fixed income, trying to visit grandchildren across the country or attend a family event, that rental cost alone can make the trip financially impossible. But it gets worse. Many seniors don't realize they need supplemental oxygen until they're on the plane. The cabin pressure at cruising altitude is equivalent to being at 6,000 to 8,000 feet elevation. For someone with heart disease, lung disease, or other respiratory conditions, that reduced oxygen level can cause serious problems: shortness of breath, chest pain, confusion, loss of consciousness, and by the time you realize you're in trouble, you're trapped in a metal tube at 35,000 feet with nowhere to get the oxygen you need. The flight attendants can provide emergency oxygen from the plane system, but that's only for acute emergencies and only for a limited time. If you need continuous oxygen for a 6-hour flight and you didn't arrange it in advance, you're out of luck. The flight might even get diverted because of your medical emergency, which makes you feel guilty, causes delays for hundreds of other passengers, and costs the airline a fortune. It's a system designed to fail seniors. Let's talk about wheelchair assistance, because this is another area where seniors are getting shortchanged and nobody's talking about it. Airlines are required by the Air Carrier Access Act to provide assistance for passengers with disabilities, including wheelchair service from the check-in counter to your gate and from your arrival gate to baggage claim. That's the law. But here's the reality. Airlines are cutting costs everywhere. They've outsourced wheelchair services to third-party contractors who are understaffed, underpaid, and undertrained. The wait times for wheelchair assistance have skyrocketed. In some major airports, seniors are waiting 45 minutes, an hour, sometimes 90 minutes for a wheelchair agent to show up after they've landed. And if you have a tight connection, you're going to miss it. The airline's policy says they'll rebook you on the next available flight, but that next flight might be 6 hours later or the next day. And where do you wait? In the airport, in a wheelchair, often without accessible bathrooms nearby, often without food or water, because you can't leave your wheelchair unattended to go get something. It's undignified, it's exhausting, and it's completely avoidable if airlines actually staffed these services properly. There's another issue with wheelchairs that's even more disturbing. Airlines frequently damage or lose mobility devices. According to Department of Transportation data, airlines mishandled more than 11,000 wheelchairs and scooters in 2024 alone. That's more than 30 per day. And when your wheelchair gets damaged or lost, the airline's compensation is capped by regulation. They'll pay for repairs or replacement up to a certain amount, but that amount often doesn't cover the full cost of a customized mobility device. And while you're waiting for your wheelchair to be repaired or replaced, what are you supposed to do? You can't walk. You can't get around. You're stranded. Airlines will sometimes provide a loaner chair, but it's not fitted to your body. It doesn't have your cushions, your supports, your adjustments. It's a one-size-fits-nobody solution that leaves you in pain and unable to function normally. And this happens to seniors constantly. It's a known problem. It's been a problem for years, and nothing meaningful has been done to fix it.
Now let's get back to the banned items, because hair tools and liquid restrictions are just the beginning. Lithium batteries.
If you use a power bank to charge your phone or tablet, there are new restrictions as of 2025. You can bring power banks in your carry-on, but they must be under 27,000 milliamp hours. Most power banks are well below that limit, so this shouldn't be a problem. But here's the catch. The capacity has to be clearly labeled on the device. And many older power banks, the ones seniors bought 5 or 10 years ago, don't have the capacity printed on them. If TSA can't verify the capacity, they can confiscate it. So that power bank you've been traveling with for years, the one that works perfectly fine, suddenly becomes contraband. Um, and lithium batteries are not allowed in checked baggage at all anymore. That's a new change. So if you have a cordless device, battery-powered medical device, backup battery for anything, it all has to go in your carry-on, which means your carry-on is now stuffed with batteries, medical supplies, medications, and all the other items you used to be able to check. And airlines have gotten stricter about carry-on size limits. Some budget carriers are now charging fees if your carry-on is even slightly over the size restrictions. So you're caught in an impossible situation. You have to bring certain items in your carry-on because they're banned from checked baggage, but your carry-on is now too full or too heavy. So you either pay extra fees, or you try to repack everything at the gate while holding up the boarding line, or you give up and leave things behind that you actually need. Let me tell you about the medication issue that nobody's addressing. Seniors are taking an average of 4 to 6 prescription medications daily. That's the national average for Americans over 65. Some are taking more. And when you travel, especially internationally, you need to bring enough medication for your entire trip, plus extra in case of delays. The standard advice is to bring a week's worth of extra medication beyond what you think you'll need. But that means if you're taking a 2-week trip, you're packing 3 weeks of pills in their original bottles with the prescription labels. Because if you use a pill organizer, which is what most seniors actually use at home because it's easier to manage, TSA might question whether those pills are actually yours. They might ask for proof. They might delay you. And here's something truly frightening. If you're traveling internationally and you get delayed, or your return flight gets canceled, and you run out of medication, getting refills in a foreign country is nearly impossible. You're US. Prescription doesn't transfer. The medications might have different names. The pharmacies might not have the same drugs. Even if you can find a doctor willing to write you a new prescription, which is expensive and time-consuming, there's no guarantee the pharmacy will have what you need in stock. So seniors are stuck. They're in a foreign country. They're running out of critical medication. They're panicking. And airlines and travel insurance companies offer basically no help in these situations. One more banned item category that affects seniors specifically: aerosol products, spray deodorant, hairspray, dry shampoo. These are all allowed, but only in containers under 3.4 ounces in carry-on or in checked baggage if they're labeled non-flammable. The problem is many seniors use larger containers because they're easier to hold and manipulate with arthritic hands. A small 3.4-ounce spray can is hard to grip and press for someone with limited hand strength. But if you pack the larger, easier to use can in your carry-on, it gets confiscated. And if you pack it in checked baggage without checking whether it's labeled non-flammable, it might get removed and you won't even know until you arrive at your destination and open your suitcase to find it missing. So let's talk about what you need to do right now if you're planning to fly anytime in the next few months. First, check every single item in your luggage against the current TSA prohibited items list. And I mean current. The list changes, the rules change. What was allowed last year might be banned this year. Go to tsa.gov/travel/security screening/what can I bring and check every single thing. Your hair tools, your medications, your medical devices, your batteries, your aerosols, everything. Do not assume anything is still allowed just because it was allowed before. Airlines and TSA are not proactively notifying travelers about these changes. You have to check yourself. Second, if you're flying with medications, pack them in your carry-on in their original labeled bottles with a copy of your prescriptions. I know that's bulky. I know it takes up space. Do it anyway. If TSA questions you, having the prescription documentation right there resolves the issue immediately. If you use a pill organizer, take a photo of all your medication bottles with the labels clearly visible before you pack. Keep that photo on your phone. If questioned, you can show proof that the pills in your organizer match your prescriptions. Also, bring extra medication, not just a few extra days. Bring at least a week's extra supply. Pack it in a separate bag in case your luggage gets lost or delayed. Third, and this is critical, if you have any medical conditions that could require emergency treatment, carry a medical information card with you, not in your checked luggage, on your person, in your wallet or purse. This card should list your conditions, your medications, your allergies, and emergency contact information. If you have a medical emergency on the plane and you're unable to communicate, this card gives medical responders the information they need to treat you safely. You can download templates for free online. Print one, fill it out, laminate it if possible, carry it with you whenever you fly. Now here are the 3 things I promised you at the beginning that you must do in the next 72 hours if you're flying soon. First, if you own cordless hairstyling tools that use gas cartridges, do not pack them in your checked luggage. Do not bring the gas cartridges at all. If you absolutely need to use these tools, you have 3 options. Buy corded versions that plug into the wall, use the tools before you leave for the airport, and just skip styling your hair during the trip. Or purchase disposable styling tools when you reach your destination. It's inconvenient, it's unfair, but it's better than having your bag flagged as containing hazardous materials. Second, call your airline 72 hours before your flight if you need any special assistance. Wheelchair service, oxygen, extra time boarding, medical accommodations. Do not show up at the airport and hope for the best. The airline needs advance notice to arrange these services. And call the airline directly. Don't rely on third-party booking websites. The airline is the one providing the service. They need to know you're coming and what you need. Third, and this might sound paranoid, but trust me, it's necessary, pack as if your checked luggage will be lost. Bring at least 2 days' worth of essential items in your carry-on. Medications, a change of clothes, toiletries, critical medical devices, anything you absolutely cannot be without, because airlines lose bags, they delay bags, they send bags to the wrong city. And if your checked bag is the one that goes missing, and all your medications are in it, you're in serious trouble. Pack smart, pack defensively, assume something will go wrong and prepare for it. I want to close by saying this. Seniors should not have to navigate a hostile, confusing, constantly changing system just to travel. You should not have to worry about items being confiscated, medications being questioned, medical emergencies being mishandled, or mobility assistance being inadequate. But that's the reality we're living in. Airlines are cutting costs, regulators are tightening rules, and seniors are the collateral damage. Nobody's looking out for you. Nobody's asking whether these policies make sense for travelers in their 60s, 70s, 80s. Nobody's considering whether an 80-year-old woman with arthritis can realistically use a plug-in curling iron. Nobody's thinking about the diabetic grandfather who needs that extra battery for his glucose monitor. The system is not designed for you, so you have to protect yourself, you have to be informed, you have to plan ahead, and you have to fight for the accommodations and services you're legally entitled to. If you found this information helpful, if it opened your eyes to things you didn't know, share this video with every senior you know who travels. Your friends, your family, your church group, your neighbors. They need this information. And subscribe to this channel because I will keep you updated as these rules continue to change. The airlines are not going to warn you. The TSA is not going to send you a letter. You have to stay informed on your own. And I'm here to make sure you have the facts you need to travel safely, take care of yourself, prepare properly, and I'll see you in the next one.